1 or 2 weeks. We've been pretty busy lately, and we just got done with surgery. You can see my little bouffant line, my hair cover for the operating room, but we got some time today. So let's go ahead and do it.
Perfect. How do I get a consultation with you?
Lots of different ways. Obviously, if you're local to us, or even if you want to travel, just do so. We'll do an in-person consultation. About half of our patients are out of state, we're out of the country, so it's not as convenient for those patients to really fly in just for the consult. Of course, you're welcome to do so. So for those patients, they usually do a virtual consult. So what you do is you hit our consultation button on drrepa.com or plussizetommytuck.com, or you message us on here on Instagram or TikTok. And then you arrange for a consultation. There's a $250 consultation fee that gets applied to surgery, however. So you basically don't pay anything for a consultation once it's all said and done. And then you get your consultation date, you send in your photos, the gals will walk you through it, and then you and I jump on a phone call together if it's a virtual consult. And we go through the photos, what you're trying to accomplish, my recommendations, a little bit about us, things of that nature.
What is your favorite part about what you do?
I like to learn and I like to make progress. I was talking about this actually last night with my wife. Um, Yeah, I think the things that make me happy in my own little personal endeavor, my career and things of that nature, like obviously we all have our little personal journeys, aside from family and marriages and all that stuff. And I like learning, I like making progress, and I like I'm always curious to see what I'm made out of in terms of the ability to figure things out, do things better. So that's my own personal journey, and I like that about the surgeries and about my career, about for myself. Of course, that I know I don't operate on inanimate objects. I operate on people, on patients, and so the second part of that is that humanistic, social side, and I love seeing my patients get great results and be happy and be have a good result for the investment of time and money. And obviously it's an emotional journey for them, and some of them have struggled with a lot of different things for a lot of time. Some people also have like hernias, things of that nature. So their improvement of mobility is increased significantly because of the tissue that we remove, plus a hernia repair, things of that nature. So I guess that's like a long-winded answer, but I think my favorite part varies from different things to different things. Personally, just the opportunity to progress from a kind of social, humanistic side, opportunity to help patients. Yeah, so I think that's as succinct an answer as I can provide.
What is your favorite surgery to perform?
Well, it's interesting. I think we tend to love what we are really good at. And I mean, obviously, it's always important to check your ego because the ego will inhibit you from progressing and learning more. So, with that said, I think I might be up there at the top in terms of abdominoplasty surgery. And I just don't get rattled by abdominoplasty surgery at all, regardless of how high the BMI is, how complicated the surgery, hernias, prior scar tissue. And I still get joy out of seeing the before and after photos of the tummy tucks. And I think obviously the patients do as well. So I think probably my favorite surgery currently is just the biggest bang for the buck tummy tucks. The ones that when you look at the before and when you look after, you're like, dang, if I didn't know I actually did this surgery myself, I would think it's two different people. So I think that's my favorite part. I think I'm appreciative of just how far we pushed the tummy tuck surgery, the plus size tummy tuck surgery.
Can you get multiple procedures done at once?
Yeah, most of our patients end up getting multiple procedures done all at once. I mean, we can push the surgery to 8, 9, 10 hours of surgery. It's not really hard on your body the way we do surgery and with anesthesia and everything. It's the limitation is really on mostly on my body because after about 10 hours or so, I get there's a limit to my capabilities in terms of energy wise. So you can get multiple procedures. Once you hit around 8 hours, 9 hours, it's time to really consider doing the rest in a second stage. I've done 12 hours before. I'm 48 now, so every year my body is closer to its maximum capability. So yeah, you could do multiple. A lot of people will do tummy tuck, plus size tummy tuck, bra line, back lift, breast lift. That usually takes about 8 hours or so, depending on your size, height wise, width wise, all that stuff. But that's a good combination. The tummy tuck broadline back lift, plus size tummy tuck, broadline back lift, and breast lift combo basically takes care of the whole core, and then what's left is obviously arms, legs, buttock, of course, and of course the facial stuff. So that's a good way to do it.
Why do you not have a BMI requirement?
Well, I think it's important to always question what we think is the truth or what we think knowledge is, right? So, like if you do this, this happens. Okay, well, maybe, let me just put it in the maybe box. So I think when I first started my practice, that's just my personality, is just push against a little bit of that kind of, I want to understand it myself, not just memorize some knowledge that just got, bestowed on me. So I want to kind of learn it myself, know it myself. And so I think when I started my practice, I started doing BMIs of 35 and maybe 40. And I remember my colleagues were like freaking out, like, oh my God, you're doing a BMI of 40, it's not safe, all that stuff. I'm like, yeah, but I just did half a dozen and over the last maybe 6 years, and they're all doing great and are happy. And then I started refining my process, and then you start doing BMIs of 45, 50, 55, and so on. And you start refining how you do the perioperative stuff, the stuff before surgery and after surgery. And you start doing modifying how you do your actual surgery, how you dissect, how you do liposuction, how much tension you put on there. And then you also work with your anesthesiologist. Our anesthesiologist is a board certified anesthesiologist. So we work in tandem. We're like, okay, let's increase this med, let's decrease this med, let's increase this fluid, let's decrease that fluid. And we just constantly look at how our patient's doing. And then as they're doing better, we, adapt and adapt and adapt. So our highest BMI to date is 88. We've done a handful of patients in the 80s, double that in the 70s, a ton in the 60s. And basically, like we knock out 40s and 50s every single day. So I don't have a BMI or a weight restriction because over the last 16 years, I've been doing patients as high a BMI of 88, and they've all done great. So BMI doesn't really tell me anything.
Can you explain your pricing?
Sure. Our pricing is dependent on time. So there's my time, and then there's the anesthesiologist time, and then there's the OR time, and it's all pretty much all the same. Because obviously, as soon as the anesthesiologist gets you in there, his time, OR time, then I come in there. That's all the same. And so the quotes are based on how much time is required to accomplish the goal that you're trying to accomplish. So the best way to define this is, imagine two versions of you come in for a consultation. One version of you is 6 foot tall and XYZ weight. The second version is 5 foot tall and let's say half of XYZ weight. And both of those versions of you want tummy tuck, broadline back lift, breast lift, as an example. Well, it goes to say, that the 5 foot tall person is going to take less time in the operating room, and therefore the cost is and should be less than the 6 foot tall version of you. So it's all, and we're down to like the last 15 minutes. We've been at it for 16 years. We rarely go over that much, and we rarely go under that much. So, we've been doing this the whole time. So our prices are based on time. You and I discuss what you're trying to accomplish. I tell you what I recommend. You decide which ones you choose, and then those result in a time component, and that's how the quotes go.
How long is the recovery process?
For a plus size tummy tuck, we recommend you stay here for about 2 weeks. A little less is fine. A ton less, not recommended, because you need your energy back. You need to see me in post-op, things of that nature. So if you're from out of town, you want to stay here for about 2 weeks. Obviously, if you're in town, it's not that big of a deal. And then you want to take at least those 2 weeks off of work, life, etc. My recommendation is to take longer. My recommendation is to reverse engineer the whole question. So instead of how soon can I get to work, how soon can I drive, how soon can I take care of the kids, how soon can I run errands, how soon can I go grocery shopping, my recommendation is reverse engineer, is like, how long can I take off of all of those things to allow my body to heal as fast and strongly as possible. And so if you can only take 2 weeks off of work, then that's your answer. But if you can take 3 or 4, then take 3 or 4. Those are not weeks that are wasted. Yes, obviously if you're not working, then you're not making money, but your body will actually heal much faster by doing that.
When you do a fat transfer, does the fat keep working? As in, does it gain size, diminish in size?
Yes. Yeah. So let's say I take a fat cell from my tummy and put it in my butt or something like that right now. Right now, it has a certain amount of size, a certain amount of storage. And then as you gain weight, your fat cells increase. As you lose weight, your fat cells decrease. And so if I take that fat cell and I move it another place, if I gain weight, it all the fat cells get bigger, some proportionally more than the others because we're all genetically predisposed to gain weight in different parts of our body. And that fat cell actually, in some way, I don't really know. I think I probably read it in some research article, but I forgot the molecular receptors. But that fat cell remembers where it used to be. So if you tend to gain weight in your tummy and you take that fat and you put it in your breast, then you'll tend to gain weight in your breast.
I had my last C-section 2 months ago. How long do I wait for a tummy tuck?
There's no specific time frame. I would just look at it, I would just zoom out and just say, is this a good time for me physically? Do I feel strong enough to get a tummy tuck? Is this a good time for me socially, like work and other responsibilities? Is this a good time for my family? Is this a good time for me financially? I would just look at it that way. I mean, anything beyond 2 months is probably sufficient. So you can do 3, 4, whatever, however you want. It doesn't make that much of a difference. I think the only difference would be, super early on after you deliver your baby, your body's still kind of shrink wrapping a little bit. So, at least 2 months is a reasonable time frame.
Is there a required nutritional recommendation before and after surgery?
Not really. There's a required hydrational recommendation, and you just want to be super hydrated all the time. Your body wants a ton of water to heal, and you just have to give your body that plus a little bit more so that it can always get rid of some water, right? So if you're overly hydrated, you just pee, right? So it's no harm there. For some people, yes, it's a problem because some people have medical problems like, pulmonary edema and things of that nature. But we're obviously not going to operate on someone who has, cardiovascular problems or, undiagnosed or poorly managed kidney problems. So hydration is the most important. Food wise, it's not that really important. Smaller meals is better, lighter meals is better. You're primarily just eating in the post-operative time period, so it allows you to kind of settle your stomach, both in general, but also to take whatever pills you're taking, Most people have sufficient nutritional reserves on board to heal. Obviously, if you're somehow malnourished in some way or another, then you want to supplement that, protein malnourishment or things of that nature. But the vast majority of people may have some small nutritional deficiencies, but it doesn't really play a role in healing.
Do you offer payment plans?
Yeah, we work with a handful of different companies: Alphion, Care Credit, Patientify, and Cherry. So those 4 companies we work with, they're third-party financing companies. So basically, they pay us minus a fee, and then you pay them in terms of payments. So those are the payment plans that can work. Now, you can also prepay into your account here at my office. You just have to get all paid up in full before you have surgery.
How long, after consultation, how long is the waiting period for surgery?
It has varied, especially over the last few years because of all the, there's all these levers that have been pulled with shutting down everything with COVID, and then there's like a resurgence of stuff. So historically, we've been at 2 months, and that's kind of where we're at now. We've kind of gone back down to 2-month waiting period for long surgeries. Small surgery like a 1-hour breast augmentation, we can fit that any day because unless we're doing a 12-hour case, we can fit that almost on any day. Big surgeries where we're doing like, let's say, a 8-hour surgery, plus size tummy tuck, bra line, back lift, breast lift, then we're about 2 months out on those. In the past, especially 2021, 2022, there's kind of a abnormality, irregularity of volume there. I think we were booking out like 8 months out at one point.
What percentage of patients developed complications after surgery?
Off the top of my head, I don't know what that number is, but it's very low. So I would say that within a 12-month period for plus size tummy tucks, we might get one patient that has a drain site infection. We just had one now. It's not a big deal. We basically put the patient on antibiotics, pull the drain out, didn't require any additional intervention. it's been a long time, many, many years since I've had a blood clot. That's called a DVT-PE. That's when you have a blood clot in your legs, travels up to your lungs. I mean, might be 10 years now since we've had one of those. We've never had a death. Um, I'm compiling all the data to publish the plus size tummy tuck. And we currently have zero necrosis for patients of a BMI of 40 and above. So I think the gestalt of everything I just said is that complications can always happen. We've been at it for 16 years. Our process is pretty refined. I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm not saying our team is perfect. And there is this kind of caveat that things can always happen. But the data is very supportive that you're most likely, if you choose to have a plus size tummy tuck in my office, you're most likely going to go through that process without any complications.
Do you specialize in neck lifts and or facelifts?
Well, I think it all depends on how you define specialization. If you're saying like, listen, that's primarily what you do, then the answer is no. Because primarily what I do now is these complicated plus size tummy tuck surgeries because nobody else can do them, right? I mean, most plastic surgeons will start exempting patients at BMI of 30 or 35. There might be some that will go up to 40, maybe tiptoe over it a little bit. But we're obviously in a different playing field, BMIs of 70s and 80s. And I mean, our highest BMI is 88. So we're borderline touching 90 there, have all healed great. So because of that, we do a lot of plus size tummy tucks. And because of the tummy tucks, we also do a lot of body contouring associated with that. So broadline back lifts, arm lifts, things of that nature. And that takes up a lot of my schedule. I like doing rhinoplasties, I like doing facelifts, I like doing neck lifts, but I only have 10 hours a day to operate, and those spots get taken up by basically plus size tummy tuck patients and plus size body contouring patients. I at one point in my career, about 30-40% of my practice was facelift, neck lift, and rhinoplasty, and now it's probably 10% or something like that. And I'm okay with that because you can't be, you have to kind of hammer away at what you're really accomplishing, and then you can always change gears later on. Like when I take the plus size tummy tuck to a level that I don't feel I can push it anymore, I've kind of defined it and grown it and done the best that I could to improve it as much as I can, then that's the time for me maybe to, bring an associate on, teach them how I do that, and then start reintegrating more of my facial stuff. So I still do facelifts, I still do neck lifts, I still do rhinoplasties, but maybe about 10% of my cases are those.
If I have anemia, can I still get surgery?
Well, it depends on what kind of surgery you're having, right? So if we're doing large volume liposuction, you can't go into surgery with anemia. Anemia is a low hemoglobin count, and that just means you don't have enough red blood cells. So if we're doing large volume liposuction, we can't go into it with a deficiency. You got to get tanked back up. Most women have anemia it's called iron deficiency anemia. That means you don't have enough iron. And so you can do iron infusions, iron supplements. You can get outpatient transfusion and get tanked back up. But you have to go into surgery for these big body contouring surgeries. You have to go into surgery normal, just for the possibility that we might lose some blood. Now, most times we don't lose a lot of blood during surgery, but there is a fluid shift. We give you so much fluids that the body kind of retains a lot of that fluid, and you can get dilutional anemia. Basically, your volume of water expands, the number of red blood cells stay the same, so now the amount of red blood cells per unit of kind of intravascular volume decreases. So it's important to go into surgery with relatively normal labs.
Growing up, was becoming a surgeon your dream, or did you have another dream job?
It's interesting. So I was born in Romania. Romania was communist when I was living there, and when I was 8, my parents and my sister and I moved to the U.S. And back in Romania, very few people had higher education, so most people just work in factories, communist. And so my parents were like that, so they stopped going to school after 8th grades because they have to work in factories and help their families out and all stuff. So I'm telling you that because I came from a background of not really being exposed to a lot of professions. So when it came time to finish high school, I was like, well, I guess I'll go to college because that's what you do, even though my parents never went to high school or college. So I went to college, and then I'm like, well, I don't know what to study because all my parents are blue collar workers working in factories. So I basically just randomly chose to go to med school. It's kind of funny, but luckily it suited me just great. And then the first class in med school is anatomy. You dissect these, the cadavers, and you dissect all that stuff. And one thing is, I noticed that I liked it. I like working with my hands. I like working throughout the whole body. I like challenging myself. Like I would, you have 100 students in that class, and everyone's dissecting their thing, and I was like very competitive. Like, well, look how nicely I dissected my anatomy, So, and so then I kind of knew that plastics was probably my thing, because plastics operates from head to toe, and there's nothing preordained about it. You don't go like, oh, I'm gonna follow 1, 2, 3, and then I'm gonna take the gallbladder out. It's every day is a total new puzzle. Every day is a new puzzle, a new challenge, and a new opportunity to either succeed gloriously or potentially embarrass yourself. So so I did not always know that I wanted to be a plastic surgeon. I basically evolved during med school, and then luckily I ran into a great man in med school. His name is Mike Wheatley. He was my mentor, and he kind of gave me the confidence, like, dude, you can do this. And so then I got into residency, and then here I am.
Perfect. How long can we stay in the sanctuary after surgery?
It's up to you. Most people just stay one night. That's all basically you need. You can do longer if you'd like to. Most patients just need one night. That first night's important because 99% of our patients do great, but that 1% might need a little extra care for that first 23 hours or overnight situation. And they need maybe like a little bit of extra nausea issue, a little bit of more management of the garments, a little bit this, that, the other thing. And then that's great because instead of seeing them a week later, status post, all those issues, we nipped it in the bud right off the bat. So I think that's been a very big help. It's definitely taken a big stressor off me, because when you do 10 liters of liposuction and remove 30 pounds off someone and they're like a BMI of 70 or 80, it feels better to have a nurse that and have trained seeing the patient and giving you feedback throughout the evening, as opposed to the patient going to some hotel or Airbnb. It just gives you that better, I just end up being more at peace.
Perfect. And then our last question, how do I book a consultation?
Yeah, lots of different ways. So our phone number is 855-377-3782. I think that's a good way to do it because you can ask questions right off the bat. But if you are more of the non-communicative type in terms of calling, then just text message us here on Instagram or on TikTok or on one of our two websites, drrepta.com and plussizetummytuck.com. We tend to book consultations out about 2 weeks. We're $250 for the consultations. Those get applied to your surgery. So basically you get that for free. We book out surgery about 2 months. We're about 10-15 minutes away from the airport. If you're gonna rent a hotel or a house near us, definitely you should only be traveling about 5 minutes to our office. We're surrounded by all sorts of hotels and resorts and that stuff. So Phoenix is very spread out. Put it in Google Maps. If you're 45 minutes away in Scottsdale, that's too far. You should be about 5 minutes away. And that's about it.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day.